Okay, so armatures. We've got our character here, and we want to create an armature for it. So the first thing is, I like to start off and get that armature kind of already inside of them. And the way to do that is to get the cursor inside of them. So the way I go about that is with the object selected, I hit Shift S, and it gives us this snap panel. I'm going to choose cursor to selection, and it's going to put it on the center point of that object. So let's add armature. Yes, it's there. No, we can't see it because we haven't turned on X-ray. And there it is. So let's get this thing going. I'm going to go into side view here. I'm going to tab into edit mode. And let's just grab this whole thing. And start at the back and work our way forward. Grab. Probably don't need too complicated a spine for this character. So let's extrude. And honestly, that would probably do it for the body. I want to extrude some legs out, so I'm going to switch to front view, and I need to turn on X-axis mirror. And so then I will Shift E to extrude to at once. And I do want to Alt P to disconnect the bone. Grab it. And let's get this in a position that's useful. Put that somewhere. Probably need to move this a bit. Let's grab the root there. Line it up. And let's extrude a foot. And then I'll go ahead and just take this, and I'm going to Shift D to duplicate on the Y. And let's just make this fit. Not bad. Let's get that a little more centered. Yeah. Alright, that's going to do. Now let's get ourselves a head here. I'm going to extrude. I'm going to go ahead and just Alt P to disconnect the bone. Let's grab that whole bone and whoop, didn't work. Alt P, disconnect bone. There we go. And let's just make it big enough for this whole head. Alright, and I'm going to need some ears. So let's Shift E to extrude two at once and click on the bone and Alt P to disconnect. Grab that. And let's just put that in position. I'm going to switch to top view. Grab that. That's pretty good. Alright, and I'm going to need some trunk. So let's just extrude from the head bone so it's already connected to the head. But click on the bone, Alt P, disconnect the bone, grab it, and let's have a couple here to give us some control over that schnoz. Okay, now that's gonna do it for the basics here. I could probably get some bones into the tail, but for demo purposes, let's call it good so we can move on. I'm gonna tab out of edit mode. And just like establishing a parent relationship between the bones, we need to establish a parent-child relationship between the armature and the elephant. So, the elephant, select, is child of, Shift select the armature, and that is Control P, armature, create from bone heat. Alright, so select our armature here. We'll switch over to select the armature, switch over to pose mode, and let's see. It's not too badly weight pan. You notice the eyes aren't coming with it. They aren't because they are separate objects. There is a way to add them to the armature. What I want to do is set up an eye control. Now this is a little more complicated. Let's select the eye. I'm going to Shift S, cursor to selection. And then I'm going to click on the armature here, go into edit mode, and add a bone. Alright, and I just want to rotate this thing 90 degrees. But you'll notice if I click on it and I rotate 90 degrees, it comes out of the center. It's no longer in the middle of the eye, which is very important. If it's not in the middle of the eye, your eye will rotate funky in and out of the head. It must rotate directly from the center of the eye. So what we want to do is, this is our rotation point. We are going to switch to 3D cursor. And now let's rotate 90 degrees. That's good, but you'll notice it's pointing backwards. Not good. So that means rotate negative 90 degrees. All right. Now I do need to do the same thing on the other eye. Select that eye, Shift S, cursor to selection, click on the armature, tab into edit mode, and add bone. And just click it. Our rotation point is already on cursor, so all we got to do is rotate negative 90. All right. Now I need 2 bones coming out of the end of here. So I'm going to select the tip of each of these bones, and I'm going to extrude on the Y. So they shoot straight out. And then in between those 2 bones, I need one more. So I'm going to Shift S, where I've got both those tips selected, and that'll pop the cursor right in the middle. And I'm going to add one more bone. So that is a fine. I'm going to go ahead and scoot it out forward. All right, select the whole bone and scoot it out forward. All right, now, this bone, hold Shift, child of the head bone. So Control P, keep offset. Whoops. Control P, keep offset. This bone, child of this bone. Control P, keep offset. Now these two need to actually be children of this one. What I'm doing right now is setting up a rig so that I can move this bone and both the eyes follow it. This bone is a child of this bone. Control P, keep offset. This bone is a child of this bone. Control P, keep offset. And this bone is a child of the head bone. Control P, keep offset. So now I need to get these bones to always point to these bones. The way to do that is to add a constraint. A constraint in this case is going to be added in pose mode. So go into pose mode. I'm going to click on this one. And what I need is to give it a constraint that will make it continue to point towards this one. What would be helpful, though, is to have a name for this one. So let's go ahead and have it I target, oops, can't read that, dot L for left. And let's do the same over here, only it's going to be I target dot R. Alright, so this bone, add a constraint. What we want is an IK solver. Alright, so the object is the armature. So, armature. And then it's going to pop up the bone. Which bone is it? Well, I want it to point to I target dot L. And that's all well and good, but I have to set a chain length. In this case, the chain length is 1. There is 1 bone in the chain. This bone. If I had more bones, then they all had to point towards this one. I would have to increase the chain length to accommodate all of them. So let's real quick add another IK constraint. And to the armature on I target dot R and a chain length of 1. So now, in pose mode, I grab this, that's going to make it follow, but the eyes are not yet attached to the bones. So what we need to do is click on the eye, and then while the armature is in pose mode, click on the bone we want to parent it to. Control P, bone. Eye, bone, Control P, bone. Now, the eyes will follow wherever that points. That's a useful armature.